early mornings. The second efforts. The victories. The lessons. The friendships that last a lifetime. Through lacrosse, lives are empowered and transformed. Be part of our national community today. Join us at uslacrosse.org.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks for joining us tonight. My name is Steve Stenerson. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of US Lacrosse. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the 2015 US Lacrosse Convention. Thanks so much for the commitment you've made to be with us, your support of US Lacrosse, and most importantly, the critical role you play in helping to provide more and more kids with the opportunity to play lacrosse. Each year we do our best to improve and expand our convention offerings to make this educational experience as valuable as it can be. So please continue to share your thoughts and suggestions with us. Also, be sure to follow at @USLaxConvention on Twitter and use the hashtag LaxCon to receive and send live convention updates. More than 6,000 coaches, officials, administrators, and industry reps have traveled to Baltimore to be a part of this event, the largest educational and networking opportunity in the sport. And this year's event is packed with opportunity. Over 150 educational sessions for coaches and officials, more than 150 companies showcasing the latest lacrosse gear, and live field sessions with US team players and coaches, along with dozens of meetings involving every part of the US Lacrosse national leadership structure. Events like this don't happen without the support of national partners, whose investment in US Lacrosse and our mission have been essential to our growth and development, and I'd like to recognize a few right now. Marriott offers discounts of up to 40% at over 2,000 participating hotels for US Lacrosse members who are traveling to lacrosse games and tournaments. Nationwide Insurance has been a partner of US Lacrosse since 2007 and continues to be supportive of our safety initiatives. RPS, Bollinger, and Markel Insurance provide and service the robust insurance program that is a benefit to all US Lacrosse members. I'd also like to acknowledge our US team partners who support Team USA by providing best-in-class product to our nation's best. Many thanks to Nike, SDX, De Beer, Brine, and Under Armour for their ongoing support of our national teams. Along with these national partners, I'd also like to thank all of our 2015 convention sponsors whose support continues to help provide outstanding education and training opportunities both here and across the country throughout the year. Please join me in recognizing and thanking our national partners and convention sponsors listed on the screen. Essential to the success of our convention is the professionalism of our special events staff. Director of Events, Beth Pareca, Senior Events Managers, Kim Rogers, Event Managers, Ariana Ondas-Klein, Shannon Minter, and Lauren Rossi, and the leadership of our Convention Curriculum Committee, Chip Flanagan, John Sung, Joanna Lignelli, Kathy Russo, Patty Daly, Patty Cleary, Liz Brush, Lissa Ficker, Jen Dorff, Laurette Payette, Jim Carbonneau, Lee Spitzer, and Kevin Curley. Please give our event staff and convention committee a hearty round of applause for their efforts. Each year, the operations and impact of our evolving nonprofit association expand and increase. Thanks primarily to the support of donors and almost 450,000 members like you, US Lacrosse has invested over $170 million into the sport's infrastructure and development since we were formed in 1998, and that investment has made quite a difference indeed. US Lacrosse benefits from the passion and commitment of our national staff, but the leadership and engagement of more than 300 volunteers from over 30 states who serve within our national board, committee, and subcommittee structures has been the key to our organization's development. Although we are headquartered in Baltimore, US Lacrosse policies and strategic priorities are established by this volunteer leadership structure, and delivery and ongoing development of our programs, resources, and initiatives are enabled by a powerful collaboration between staff and volunteers. 2014 was a year of great accomplishment for U.S. Lacrosse. Highlights include expansion of our coaches and officials education programs, continued membership growth, increased investment in our chapter structure and regional development initiatives, comprehensive grant awards to more than 90 new lacrosse programs throughout the country, advancement of myriad initiatives by our men's and women's game committee structures, and the public launch of a $15 million capital campaign to construct a new U.S. Lacrosse headquarters and U.S. team training center, as well as increase investment in the priority areas of player safety and inclusion. Last year, we also staged the largest lacrosse event in history, the 2014 FIL Men's World Championship in Denver. While we accomplished many goals in Denver, there is one we were not able to achieve despite the best efforts of our U.S. team players and staff. And I'd like to ask you to join me in showing our appreciation to the 2014 U.S. men's team for the tremendous effort and commitment it showed in seeking the World Championship and the way in which they represented U.S. lacrosse, our sport, and our nation. 2015 promises to be an even more exciting year for us as we send our U.S. women's under-19 to Edinburgh, Scotland for the next FIL World Championship in July, incorporate indoor lacrosse into our U.S. team program for the first time, and send Team USA to the 2015 FIL Indoor Championships in Syracuse this October, pilot a national event sanctioning program, initiate an athlete development plan that reimagines how we introduce and develop the sport among players at every level, and approve a new strategic plan for U.S. lacrosse. And while we still have some fundraising work to do, we anticipate breaking ground on our new headquarters, which will enable the next stage of organizational development and serve as a national resource for decades to come. In that regard, I'm thrilled to announce tonight that we have received a commitment for a significant leadership gift to our campaign from the Intercollegiate Women's Lacrosse Coaches Association. And I'd like to recognize Alicia Groveston, President of the IWLCA, and Gothard Lane, Executive Director of the IWLCA, who are with us here tonight down in the front row here. Alicia and Gothard, on behalf of U.S. Lacrosse, our national membership, and the next generation of lacrosse players, coaches, and officials, I want to thank you and the IWLCA for your commitment to our efforts to lead and serve the sport. U.S. Lacrosse and the IWLCA have long enjoyed a very positive relationship, and your association's gift is a wonderful example of what can be accomplished through partnership and collaboration. Ladies and gentlemen, again, please join me in a round of applause for the IWLCA. The backbone of our sport has long been volunteers throughout the country whose selfless service has enabled lacrosse to grow one young player at a time. U.S. Lacrosse honors exemplary contribution to youth lacrosse each year with our Youth Service Awards, and I'd like to recognize our 2015 honorees at this time. Presenting these awards tonight from the U.S. Lacrosse staff are Liz Piper, our women's game manager, and Steve Keir, our Director of Regional Development. I'd ask you to hold your applause until all the awards have been acknowledged. Our first award is presented for outstanding contribution to the game. This year's honoree, Kate Roper, has been described as the driving force behind the sport's growth in the state of Washington. As president of the Washington Schoolgirls Lacrosse Association over the past 5 years, Kate has led double-digit annual player growth and been described as the driving force behind the sport's expansion in Washington. Kate, if you could step forward so people know you. Our Boys and Girls Youth Coaches of the Year awards are given to those who embody the characteristics of the ideal coach. This year's Girls Coach winner, who was described in a nomination letter as dedicated, caring, and selfless, is Michael Sanchez from the Rocky Point, New York Girls Youth Lacrosse Association. Our Boys Coach winner is Kevin Morrison from Eagan, Minnesota, who one parent described as the perfect candidate because of his remarkable philosophy, involvement, and leadership. Our Program Administrator of the Year award is given to an outstanding administrator who runs a league or program of excellence. This year's recipient is Bill Karn, who has been a member of the Hanover Lacrosse Club in Virginia for 5 years and was described as, quote, unwavering on the club's policy that all children, regardless of skill level, can play. The Outstanding Youth Lacrosse Official Award is given to an exemplary member of the third team on the field who seeks to maintain a high quality of experience for all. This year's honoree, Edith Harris from Seattle, was praised in a nomination letter for, quote, always being there to support officials and help them become the best they can be. The Award of Excellence in Growing the Game is given to an individual who works effectively and tirelessly to develop lacrosse within a geographic area. A nomination letter for this year's recipient explained, quote, he turns away no one and does what's needed, often at his own expense, to keep the game alive and growing. From New Orleans, Doug Mills. The One for All Award is presented to a young adult who has given unselfishly of his time and talent to develop the sport. This year's honoree, Isaac Tibbetts, was a high school senior last year when he founded a team at Montville High School and then went on to form the town's first youth program. 2 very special U.S. Lacrosse awards honor lifetime contribution to the sport. The U.S. Lacrosse Women's and Men's Game Lifetime Achievement Awards recognize and honor accomplishments, impact, and contributions over time. This year's Women's Game recipient, Jackie Pitts, played club lacrosse for the Philadelphia Women's Lacrosse Association and was a member of the U.S. Women's Team and U.S. Reserve Team from 1964 to 1974. Following her playing career, she served as the head coach of the U.S. Women's Team from 1979 to 1987, winning the first World Cup for the United States in 1982. Jackie's a past president of the U.S. Women's Lacrosse Association and the International Federation of Women's Lacrosse Associations, and she was inducted into both the U.S. Lacrosse Hall of Fame and the Delaware Sports Hall of Fame in 1983. Jackie Pitts. The 2015 Men's Game recipient, Matt Levine, is a former player at Williams, who went on to found Doc's Youth Lacrosse and CityLacs in New York City. Both organizations are dedicated to growing the sport among all participants, regardless of ability. Matt's Doc's program has grown to serve 8,000 boys and girls in the 5 boroughs since its inception in 1996. CityLacs, created in 2005, is leading a public-private partnership between the public school system and community-based organizations. CityLacs engages over 1,200 boys and girls annually through its varsity and junior varsity teams, which now represent 44 high schools. Matt Levine. And our final award this evening is the inaugural Homer R. Schwartz Chapter Leadership Award, which recognizes a U.S. Lacrosse chapter leader who embodies the qualities of passion and dedication that the late Homer Schwartz provided as a longtime U.S. Lacrosse chapter volunteer in the D.C., Maryland area. This year's honoree, Jim Old, has been a part of the leadership of our Tidewater, Virginia chapter for 10 years and has served as chapter president for the last 4 years. He led the Hampton Roads Youth League as an administrator and then president over 6 years. Jim led efforts to introduce soft stick programs in the area schools, helped establish a lacrosse program for underprivileged youth, and made U.S. lacrosse coaching education a standard for all coaches. Please join me in congratulating all of our 2015. Since the inception of U.S. Lacrosse in 1998, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes has presented the Peter Cohn Award, honoring one of the most beloved figures in lacrosse. For 50 years, Peter was connected to lacrosse. A recent subject of a documentary chronicling his life, Peter started as a field manager for the Park School in 1954. He was then manager of U.S. teams from 1978 to 1998, North-South All-Star Games for over 25 years, club teams in the United States Club Lacrosse Association for more than 20 years, Middlebury College from 1981 and 2000 to 2003, and numerous other lacrosse events over the years. The lacrosse field at Middlebury was named in his honor, and he was inducted into the National Lacrosse Hall of Fame in 2004. He served as a volunteer with FCA Lacrosse from 1988 until his death in 2009. Peter was and still is one of the most recognized figures in our sport. Here to present the 2014 Peter Cohn Award is Mr. Frank Kelly, CEO of Baltimore-based Kelly & Associates, founder of FCA Lacrosse, a member of our U.S. Lacrosse Foundation Board of Directors, and a longtime friend of Peter Cohn. Please welcome Frank Kelly.
Thank you very much, Danny, and good evening. I am truly honored to present the FCA Peter Cohn Award this evening. I first met Peter in the summer of 1983 at Richie Moran's Quick Stick Lacrosse Camp. When I first met Pete, he was a little unique, slightly autistic, had some very unusual mannerisms, and we didn't know what to expect. The first part of the week, we kind of laughed a little at Pete. By the middle of the week, we laughed with him. By the end of the week, we absolutely loved and marveled at this man. He was an example of service, a walking example of service, whether it come to getting balls or getting water. He served in so many different ways. I know many of you are coaches. As you begin your seasons this year, you'll go to that first practice, 50 new balls. You'll do a ball hunt with your players. At the end of practice, you'll have 38 balls. You won't know where the 12 balls went, but they're gone. Well, if you had Peter, you would have 50 balls. Peter would spend hours finding every ball. He was dedicated to serving to the fullest. I'll never forget him walking around Cornell Camp with the bottom half of a cut-off lacrosse t-shirt, looking for someone. Did anybody lose this bottom half of a cut-off t-shirt? Pete, that's the bottom half of a cut-off shirt. Frank, I'm not sure. Someone may have missed their shirt. He served with passion. He served with excellence. Peter modeled what we say we believe in FCA. The first Peter Cohn Service Award was given in 1998, a very important year in the history of U.S. Lacrosse when it was officially formed. And we gave it to Peter. Of course, he didn't want it. The next 10 years, he helped pick the winner, given at our FC breakfast or lunch. This is the first time we're giving it here tonight. We do have a lunch tomorrow. If anyone wants to come, you're welcome. But we're giving it to a person who models service above and beyond the call of duty. And with FCA, it's given based on a special scripture that says, greater love has no one than this, than that he lay down his life or her life for his friends. Peter laid down his life every day to serve. He didn't care if it was a USA team member, and he was a member of the USA team 6 times. He didn't care if it was a North-South team, All-American, or an 8-year-old beginner at camp. Peter treated and served everyone in the same way. This year's winner, Peter would have loved to have known. He passed in 2009, as Steve said, and he would have been excited to be up here presenting the award to this incredible woman. This year's winner is an incredible young woman. She played her high school lacrosse at North Andover High School. She played her college lacrosse at Louisville. She was an All-Big East academic team member. In 2013, she took the risk and step of faith to go to Uganda with Fields of Growth. She went as an associate director of the Fields of Growth organization, which is an incredible group. She got to know the young men playing lacrosse there, got involved with the Unique Hospital and other service projects, but she was caught with the dream, and they literally called it the Dream 2014 campaign, to bring the first African team ever to the FIL World Games. And this year, that dream became a reality. I first met Amy Dixon in September a year ago. She was set out to raise $120,000 as a volunteer coordinator after she returned from Uganda, 6 months in Uganda. So for 6 months she worked as a volunteer. She raised $150,000, helped them get their visas and passports, and that last week it finally came together and they showed up. I'll never forget seeing Uganda play Team Ireland, the first African team to ever compete in the FIL. And a lot of that happened and took place because of the incredible courage, leadership, and dedication of Amy Dixon. So ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to present the 2014 FCA Peter Cohn Award. And please join me in welcoming and congratulating Miss Amy Dixon.
Thanks very much, Frank, and congratulations, Amy. So well deserved. It's now my honor to introduce you to tonight's keynote speaker, Commander Ward T. Denver, who's an American hero. He was a 13-year Navy SEAL and is now an author and actor. Commander Denver ran every phase of training for the U.S. Navy SEALs and led Special Forces missions in the Middle East, Africa, and Latin America, among many other international hotspots. He spent 13 years as a platoon commander and training leader following his 1999 completion of the SEALs basic underwater demolition training. Among the hundreds of missions in which he participated or led, Commander Denver's platoon completed 192 combat missions within 7 months in the Al Anbar province of Iraq in 2006. Commander Denver has since authored the New York Times bestseller, Damn Few, Making the Modern SEAL Warrior, and he starred in the hit film Act of Valor, which is based on true SEAL adventures. Prior to serving our nation, he captained the Syracuse lacrosse team as an All-American defenseman, helping the Orange win NCAA titles in the 1990s. And he recently appeared on the November 2014 cover of Lacrosse magazine as the publication paid tribute to the U.S. Armed Forces in conjunction with Veterans Day. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking Commander Denver for his service to our country and for joining us this evening.
I mean, there's nothing worse than a standing ovation to start your presentation. I mean, now unless somebody like throws their clothes off when I finish, the best I do is break even. But so the very first time I did, one of these events, not this event, but a speaking event when I left active duty off the Navy, was to speak to a bunch of private equity folks out in Chicago. As I'm getting ready to rush out of my front door and head to the airport, my bride is standing there and she's got my plane ticket and she's got a grin on her face. I'm like, what are you grinning at? And she said, I think you're gonna like your seat. And so I look at my ticket and the seat says 2A. I don't put the pieces together, and she smiles again. She said, I think that's first class. So I've never flown first class a day in my life. In fact, for the past decade and a half, about halfway through every flight I've been on, I've kind of stood up, walked towards the back of the plane, shook my legs out, put my night vision on, and jumped out of the back of the plane, never to return. So first class sounded like a pretty good deal to me. I'm in the military, so everything we do is based on time. We're pathologically early to what we do, and I miss my flight. I missed my flight. So I'm not about to call the private equity guy in Chicago and be like, can I get another first class ticket? So I run down to another counter. I have a ton of frequent flyer miles with this airline. I said, is there any way you can get me to Chicago tonight? They said, yeah, but you got to go right now. I said, great. Cash in every freaking flyer number I have, mile I have. I want to be in first class. I can hear them laughing as I'm running away. I get to the plane, the guy's like, yeah, we know, come on. I can see my seat. I'm in row 416, middle seat right next to the head. There's a gentleman on my right that's shockingly about 60 pounds bigger than I am, doesn't believe in deodorant. I got a little guy to my left. And so I'm thinking, all right, I got some armrest on this side, but he had some type of intestinal problem he identified at that point. So I'm like, here we go, regular flight. And as the doors are closing, I see the flight attendant kind of go like this to me, gives me this, and I said, you gotta be kidding me. So I grab my bag, I start walking up, I said, what's going on? He said, one person didn't check into first class. So you're in there. So I don't know if there's a dress code or a behavior code in first class. I got boots, jeans, a t-shirt on. I walk up there. There's a gentleman in the aisle seat. There's one seat open in the window, so I know that's where I'm sitting. And this gentleman is dressed to the nines. Mid-60s, distinguished looking gentleman. First class looks like a downgrade from his regular mode of travel. This guy didn't even look up. The flight attendant says, sir, excuse us, he's sitting next to you, he doesn't budge. Now I'm doing the awkward step over. I'm trying to figure out what part of my midline anatomy do I present to your face. This is awkward. I sit down, he's not done. This guy looks me up and down and says to me, I'm not kidding, I can't imagine what it is you do for a living. Right, I've been out of the Navy SEAL teams for 2 days. So I got a devil on one shoulder, I got the angel on the other side. The devil's like, please let me take this one, boss. Please let me take this one. No. Truth be told, sir, and I stared at him for a second, and I said, I'm a professional gunfighter. And as his hand's like jerking towards the flight attendant, I said, let me qualify that, I don't just shoot anyone. We kill bad guys, primarily. But this is a gift I'm giving to everyone in attendance tonight. If on your next flight you want complete dominance of the armrest and someone not to ask you a single question on the flight, right before the plane takes off, turn to them and say, I'm a professional gunfighter. It's a gift. Remember this. It's a gift I'm giving you. So this is a treat. I really mean that. This is special. I mean, this has become, I don't know, I guess a big part of my business life is doing these type of events, but this one's unique. It's unique. I can't thank the U.S. Lacrosse, family enough for inviting me or even considering me to come up on the stage. To have a chance to give just a slice back to a game that's given me so much is just special. It sincerely is. And when I think about this game, when I think about what it's given to me, it's interesting. Having done this job, going in harm's way and being a member of an assault team and the SEAL team of Special Operations in the U.S. military, it's an immersion into cultures, right? And a lot of those cultures that we face are indigenous or native peoples. And so to have a background of a game that came from the same, that came from a native indigenous people is just special. I think it uniquely positions those that play lacrosse, that go into this line of work, to kind of have a connection to that. And it's very, very special. I'll use a word that frankly I think too many people throw around that have no idea what it means, but I think having done this job I've done for the last 15 years, I'm honored. I'm honored to spend time with you tonight, and I mean that sincerely. Let's get into it before I start getting too emotional. All right, I know this says what it is, but who knows what this bell's for? Just yell out. What's this bell for? Ring out. Quitting. Yep, everybody knows what the bell's for. So about 75 to 80% of the young lions that show up to SEAL training don't see the finish line. And almost all do so of their own volition. At some point in training they say, I've never been this cold, wet, and miserable in my life. You guys are crazy, I'm out of here. And so they go up to this bell, which is somewhere, this bell right here, and they've got to ring this bell 3 times. Bells in the Navy are a huge tradition that comes from the Brits, and we took those traditions for signs and symbols, and so we asked the folks that quit the program to ring this bell 3 times. It's called ringing out. We don't do this to embarrass a young lion. Sincerely, that's not what it's for. It's just to acknowledge that this program is as hard as we want it to be, as you should have expected to be, as you found it to be, and that it's not right for you right now. Guys can come back and try again, but at that point their journey is over for the time being. So you got to go up, you got to ring this bell 3 times. You can see the helmets that are on the ground behind it. That helmet has your class number, which is very important to kind of your connection to the brotherhood. It's got your name and your rank on it. And I explain this only because right before I start a presentation, I like to explain the quitting policy and let everybody know that's in effect during my entire speech, okay? So if things get too challenging, spiritually, emotionally, physically, I want you to know that you can quit. Just raise your hand, say, Commander Denver, I've had enough, I can't do it. Walk up here, you don't have a bell, so you gotta like tap on this little screen. It's gonna sound totally embarrassing. And then you don't have a helmet on, so you just take off a piece of clothing, you lay it on the floor right here, you can walk away, okay? Quitting policy's in effect. So people ask me all the time, what is it that separates, SEALs on the battlefield from other units, both friendly and our enemy forces? And it really is the training. It's the training we use to select the young lions into the brotherhood, and it's the training we use to kind of mold them into a focused, capable, driven group of operators to go do the nation's work. So I got a quick video I'm going to show you. We're going to talk a little bit more about training, but I got a quick video that I'm going to show you on our SEAL training. But since I used to run the program for the entire SEAL community, and we're about to watch SEAL training, I would not feel right if we did it at a resting heart rate. So to that end, on your feet. For the wheelchair warriors and athletes in the room, you're tougher than all of us. You can do like dips or something like that. You're like in better shape than anybody here. So that's the deal. But here's what we're going to do. I'm going to ask you to do one of the exercises I used to put the young lions through in excess of 3,000 to 4,000 repetitions. I'm only going to ask you to do it 3 times, which I think is fair. The reason I love this exercise was its simplicity. All I'm going to ask you to do is jump. Not even a jumping jack, just a jump, okay? This is not what I mean by jump. I'm super embarrassed I just did that as an example. If that's being recorded, I better not see that on YouTube. So I'm going to say, we're going to do it in military fashion. So I'm going to say ready, and I want to hear a loud and thunderous ready. Okay, I'm going to say ready, and a big boom and ready. And then I'm going to say up. And in unison, you're going to jump. And when you land in a military fashion, you're going to count off the repetition. So I'm going to say up, and when you land, you're going to count 1. And I'm going to say up again, and you're going to count 2. Bingo, private equity guys in Chicago completely blew that, so lacrosse on average, way better. And I'm going to say up 1 more time, and you're going to land, you're going to count 3, okay? My only disclaimer, if you got a bad back, bad hips, bad knees, you thought 7-inch stiletto heels were like the right thing to wear tonight, or you saw your doctor on Monday, he's like, Bob, I'm telling you everything looks good, the only thing that's going to throw you into cardiac arrest is if you jump 3 times within the next week. Don't jump, okay? All right. Ready! Ready! Up! Up! 1! 2! Up! 3! Nice. Everybody sit except the first 3 rows. First row, like, that's what I'm talking about, Mom. You sit in the front of the class, you picked on by the teacher. The teacher's a lunatic SEAL, and now I'm standing up here. I only do this because this is what SEAL attrition looks like. You start with this big group of folks, and this very small group of good-looking, intense, physically fit, and capable individuals make it to the finish line. So take your seats, let's watch some SEAL training. Thanks. About the first 6 months. That's when we're going to find out if you're committed to the program. And then once you get past that little crucible, we find out if you're training. This is what I love about training, and it is what I love about the game as well, is that this is something we utterly control, right? I mean, that alchemy of traits that you were given by your parents, the genetic coding that you're born into this world with, that's fixed. I mean, not far from here, I'm sure at my mortal lacrosse enemy at Johns Hopkins, they're trying to work that out. But so far, that's what you get, right? But what you train to, what you discipline yourself towards, that's what you become. That's who you become. And that's special, because you control that. So one of the things we do in the SEAL teams, I think you might find interesting, is we actually have to kind of outsource a lot of our high-end training. We have so many things that we're responsible for: demolition, shooting, diving, communications, navigation, that we can't get it all done in-house because we're too busy on the battlefield. And one of the things we actually give away is shooting. We send SEALs to some of the best private, or kind of public, civilian is what I'm trying to say, run shooting courses in the country. So guys that are the best shooting instructors in the world, that's all they do, can teach our guys to shoot. And it becomes just an extension of who you are. I mean, shooting, our guys can shoot the eye out of a bird flying. And it's because of the repetition, the amount of training time we put into that skill set. So much so, like I said, I'll prove it. It gets like an extension of who you are. I need one soul that I can shoot. I'm going to shoot somebody, just an example of what I'm talking about. It's the best thing about these events. You don't see this, but in every one of these events, somebody's like, sitting right next to you. You don't know it, but I know who's sitting next to you. It's like, so who can I shoot? I need one hand. Let me see. Right, as bright as can be. I think I got a hand right here. Yeah, can you stand up? I feel terrible shooting. We're sitting down. Yeah, right there's perfect. Right there's perfect. I got to shoot an award recipient, which is horrible. Anyway, let's say this is my target, okay? And I'm coming around the corner in the house. Let's say I've got my primary battle rifle up, and when I pull the trigger, instead of it going bang, it goes click. This is a big problem in that moment. But we practice for that possibility. So my gun goes click, I say, I'm going to go into transition drill, and I just do it automatically. So my battle rifle is tethered to me, so I'm going to pull that down to my side, and I've got a secondary pistol on my side. As soon as I bring that weapon down, I'm going to pull this pistol from the holster, and I'm going to start aiming at my target. I'm not super accurate from right here, but you would know I was shooting at you. And then I go through a very disciplined system to make sure I get a good, clean shot every time I take a shot. So as I bring that pistol up, I'm going to start doing this mantra that I have. I think everybody's got their own little nuance. Mine is real simple. Sight, slack, squeeze. Sight, slack, squeeze. So sight means I keep my eyes in the front sights. I can keep that in crystalline focus. I can blur my target out because my brain will compensate. Slack means I take the slack out of the trigger so I can get to a smooth mother brake. Squeeze just lets me follow through real calmly. Sight, slack, squeeze, bang, bang. I wouldn't miss from here, you guys sit down. Yeah. So, bang, I clear left, clear right, what's going on with that rifle, and I move on. Thank you so much for being my target. So again, it's that training that gets you this place through repetition that you need to work on. And when it comes to this game This is where the games are won, right? In the trenches, in the preparation for battle. I mean, I love the games. I love playing where I played and getting to play with some of the best players in the game in that era and competing for championships. My favorite time of the year was two-a-days. Look, there were multi-time All-Americans at my school. I mean, in every single position. But two-a-days were for who wanted it the most. Had nothing to do with the skill sets up here. It's just who was ready to run back and forth on those lines when coach was moving back and forth. Who was ready to suffer the most. Seek out that training. Push the team to a point where they train. Push it to a breaking point where it gets uncomfortable. Because then when it gets uncomfortable in the game, you're ready for those moments. You're inoculated to those moments, okay? The other thing I think is interesting about training, this is definitely something that I think companies are looking for and I know teams are looking for, and that's the idea of the constant improvement in the elite environment, right? How do you constantly improve when you're already performing at a very high level? And the best teams always do. So I've got an example that I think helps illustrate this point. You don't need to get up this time, but everybody in your seats, just reach both hands towards the ceiling like a bank robber sticking you up. You got both hands over your head, keep them up there. All right. Now loosen up your back a little bit, roll your shoulders. Everybody's hands straight up to the ceiling, so just keep them there. Awesome. Now watch this. Everybody give me 1 more inch. Oh, it's awesome. Put your hands down. At some point this is going to fail. Like I'm going to be teaching ninjas somewhere. I'm going to say reach straight towards the ceiling. They're going to do it. I'm going to say give me an inch and they're not going to move. I'll be like, awkward. I don't have a point to make. But so far, I'm batting 1,000 on this. And I think what's happening there is almost on an elemental level, we keep a little something extra in the tanks. We keep a little extra gas for when we need it most, right? And that inch, that is your opportunity to constantly improve in the elite environment. So when you go back to your teams, or as a player when you go back to your practice, find that inch. I mean, you need to decide how often you can find that. I don't know where your team's at, I don't know where your program's at, but you get to decide. I don't know if that's weekly, daily, monthly, but I mean, even if once a season your team said, where can we find an inch, where can we improve, you're gonna constantly improve. It's a secret. Constantly improve in the elite environment. Find that inch. All right, hoo-yah. This is the SEAL battle cry. This is our war cheer. The thing that's neat about the U.S. military is that the cheer is the same word in every service, Army, Marines, Air Force. It's just said very differently in each service. So if you're an Army guy, and anyone in the Army knows exactly what I'm talking about, or any other service, it's like everyone in the Army is from the South. This is the way it sounds. Ho, ho, sar, ho, that's the way it sounds. If there's a Marine in the room, give me a devil dog bark. Spelled like that, sounds like that. So, way cooler than us. I feel like SEALs are the most literal people on earth. It looks like hoo-yah, we say hoo-yah, totally boring. It's actually the worst when there's a Marine in the room. But I used to get the young lions every day screaming hoo-yah. It's the way we say every word in our life and basic training. So I wanted to do a hoo-yah because I got this loud room of athletes. So I'm going to count to 3. I'm going to point out to the room, and I want an obnoxiously loud hoo-yah. Like somebody's coming late to the convention center, they're going to hear this hoo-yah and be like, no, we're going to go do something else. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. They're like that level loud. Okay? All right. 1, 2, 3. Hoo-yah! That is a legit hoo-yah. Now I'm not like a SeaWorld, instructor like, you can do it louder. That was the real deal. I appreciate it. So I like talking about rookies in an organization or a team, the new folks. In a SEAL team, they're called FNGs. New guys, the second half of the acronym, I'll let you figure out what I'm saying. But it's actually a term of endearment, right? And it's funny, when I took over my last tactical element that I was going to take to Iraq, to make the math easy, let's say a tactical element of SEALs is 20 guys, and that's pretty close, but it makes the math easy. As I take over that group of guys, we got guys from the previous element that are moving on to other jobs, and then new guys coming into the organization, right? Coming into the team. If you had 5 or let's say 6 new guys out of 20, that's a lot of new guys. You want senior guys to help mentor them and bring them up, right? When I took over my last element, I got 12 new guys out of 20. I mean, I thought I was like getting pumped by my operations officer. I walked in, I was like, come on, I know I don't have 12 new guys. He said, you got 12 new guys. You got to work it out. And I was nervous. It ended up being the highest performing team I led in my entire career. And that interested me. So for me, I'm a tinkerer, so I want to know why something happens, not just what happens. So I called back to Syracuse and I said, hey, do we have the statistics for all the years that I played? They said, oh, we got them all. I said, can you send them to me? Sure. So they sent me the statistics, all the stats, right? And I started data mining through them. And I found out something kind of interesting. In the 4 years that I had the pleasure of playing lacrosse at Syracuse, we won the national championship twice. In 2 years, we fell short. And on paper, in the 2 years that we did not win the national championship,